Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to this episode of the Profit for Your Business podcast. We're especially excited to have Dr. Allyson Maida with us today. She is an innovative thought leader, a psychotherapist, a business development consultant, a world renowned speaker, and author. She's based in Westport, Connecticut, and her revolutionary techniques for personal and professional growth help people define visions, create strategies, overcome obstacles, and get results. Alice, Dr. Maida, it is a privilege to have you with us today. Welcome and welcome to all of you on the conversation.
Good morning. Thank you, Jim, for allowing me to join you. It's really nice.
Yeah, well, it's really nice to have you here. We can use our time together to talk about really anything you want to talk about, but I thought it might be good to spend a little time talking about the fears that haunt many of us in business and in life, especially this time of year. It's not always as happy as it can be. So maybe we could talk a little bit about some of those fears and how we can handle them better.
Sounds like good. When you said, we could talk about anything, I'm like, shopping? Should we talk about shopping?
Well, we could.
Bring me in. So, okay, yeah, let's talk about fears. I mean, you've had a great career. You're still at it. You're helping people develop, their businesses better and become, better professionals within their industry. So, when you think of fears, like, lead me a little bit here. When you think of fears, because what are you thinking of?
Well, there are some common thoughts that haunt us, and yes, I have them too. But fears are like the ghosts of Christmas. Sometimes they come at unexpected times and upset us. But fears like I'm not good enough, or people will find out I'm not as smart as they think I am, or
right.
Wow, and I don't know enough to do this. There's those kinds of fears, which are common, but I think not always realistic. I mean, they hold us back.
Sure. I think I'd love to jump into this from a clinical perspective just for a second, because I think that it would be very helpful to do this. We have some keywords right now. This always happens. And lately, the keywords that you hear a lot on the street of business or on the street period is that people are narcissistic. That's a word that everybody likes to use. We like to use the term gaslighting. They're gaslighting me. That's a term that people are now using. And the other thing, and this is what made me say this, that you bring up is this concept of imposter syndrome, that you're in business or you're in life, but in our case, business, and you're doing these things and you really aren't always truly confident. And what society has done with the use of this terminology is it makes us believe that there's a part of us that truly is an imposter. First of all, it's a completely incorrect use of the term. The actual term imposter syndrome is also known as Capgras syndrome, and it is something that is experienced by people who have a glitch, if you will, between their central and extended nervous systems, kind of like where the two do something together. And what happens is that you see this with people with Alzheimer's, Lewy body syndrome, things like that, dementia, anything that comes with, like Lewy body has dementia attached to it at times. So what happens, just to clear that up, what happens is that somebody will see somebody's face. The central nervous system is responsible for scanning that face, and the extended nervous system is responsible for then providing the emotional register from what's been scanned. And then, so if you see somebody that looks familiar, you may feel good. You see somebody that doesn't look like comfortable for you, you don't feel good. The reason why it's important to talk about this with business is we do this all of the time. We go into a room, we go into an office, we look at a contract, we look at a potential job, whatever we're looking at, and right away we're scanning this. It's not a face, but we're scanning this, and we're also having an emotional response to that. This looks good. I could do this. You know what? That's not in my wheelhouse, or I've never done that, but I'd like to try to do that. And we have an emotional response from that. However, to clear this up, It's not Capgras syndrome. You're not an imposter because you don't know something. If you're a con man, that's a different story.
Yeah.
But people are using this term. I hear this constantly, like consistently. It's, what people think I'm something I'm not. Well, that has to do with your self-esteem. So let's call it self-esteem not so great syndrome, because that's really what that is.
Yeah.
As I make my own words up. So in any case, so getting rid of these things, because those things damage us, truly. If you walk around saying, I'm stupid, I'm stupid, I'm stupid, your brain is taking that in. Everything I do, Jim, is from the base of neuroscience. So it's not me making stuff up. It's all based on scientific data and research. And so if you walk around and say, I'm stupid, I'm stupid, I'm stupid, you're going to eventually fulfill that prophecy for yourself. And you're going to start to do things that are pretty stupid, and so it's how you approach things and how you want to be perceived, which is also very important. So let's say you're a business person, you've been working in the field for some time, and things change, like COVID is here.
Yeah.
Okay. And you talked about like the ghost of Christmas, past or whatever. This thing just came in out of what seemed to be like from nowhere. And everybody had to scramble. Everybody. So the truth is most people, even the people who excel at risk analysis and risk assessment, there's a part of this that nobody knew what to do with. And there are things in life that we don't know what to do with, big and small. So if you have something like a pandemic and you're trying to run a school, which by the way, is a business, it's the business of education, all of a sudden everybody's just doing their best with what they know. And you pull that together, and innovation is developed because you have a lot of mistakes and a lot of input, and you kind of keep plowing away. That person should feel great about what they've done, but they feel beaten up because people are around them going, you didn't do a good job. You're supposed to be the expert. Well, they're not an expert in pandemics. They're an expert in education. So they're doing their best, and of course, we could always maybe do better, but you need to feel good about what you've done, because if you don't, what happens is you end up walking around going, I'm not good at this. I'm clearly not good at this. You see, so you know what I'm saying? So I think that answers part of that question.
Yeah, it does. And it's something that people who have been told they're smart or as kids have been rewarded for all that, you're such a wonderful kid. Then it and it's still now today, even if I screw up, I feel like people will know I'm not smart and therefore stop trying. I have a friend who's like that. He's a teenager. And, when challenges come, he just freezes and says, well, I give up. And adults do that too. Failure means I'm not such a great person after all. But if you start to embrace that it really is, you're still learning and things aren't always going to be the same, then failure starts to become something that you can handle and that you're going to learn from and that you're going to grow from.
Right. There was a pamphlet circulating many, many years ago. And on the front, it said something like, if your mother burned dinner, would you not eat dinner ever again? Something like that. And, it was such a great visual, because we're not afraid of eating another thing. First of all, we need to eat to stay alive, right? But just because your mother, screwed up whatever she screwed up in the kitchen, or she destroyed something and she burned it, doesn't mean you will stop eating. But when it comes to failure, you're right. We become so afraid, as if there's some kind of massive expectation that we're supposed to always know. I teach at St. John's University in Queens, and I have students who, it's mind blowing to me. They are so upset when they don't know, or they won't answer because they're afraid to get the wrong, have the wrong information. And I say this every semester, and it's been a long time of saying this, is you're here because you're students. You're not supposed to know. This is where you learn. And then you take that and you go outside and you learn more. And as you become the expert in something, or you know something, you'll be able to bring that forward confidently. But this is the place where you should mess it up a little bit. And that's how you learn, and I think that it's the same thing in the workplace. If you think, Jim, about everything you've ever done, every time you've ever gone into something that was new, okay, or relatively new, like, were you perfectly good at it?
No, and that's okay.
That's exactly right. It's exactly right. The fumbles make you strong. And I'm not saying, oh, failure is the greatest thing in the world. Failure doesn't feel good because we all need to feel accomplishment. We need to feel satisfied. And you don't usually feel satisfied if you fail. But if you look at the failure and you ask yourself, what is in there that I can learn from? All of a sudden you become exponentially smarter.
And and as I understand it, you really do change. I mean, your brain
really
changes, and you do become smarter.
There's literally, it would be a whole separate discussion, but literally there are chemical changes that occur in your brain physically. So I can confidently tell you that you are literally, very literally, a different person after these changes have been made than you were before that. Like, your brain literally looks partially different.
Yeah.
It's incredible. So yeah, you become a different person.
Yeah.
I say this often in my practice.
And things are hard. I mean, there really are some things that are hard, and you're learning. And what can help? What can help when it seems like things are really hard, and I've worked on it, and I'm still not getting it. How can people deal with that?
Well, there's a tendency to think, I've approached this 15 different ways, and for some reason, I'm still coming up with the same result. And it's not the result that I'm looking for. When that happens, when you really look at it from the outside, because it's different to be inside than the outside, when you look from that outside space, you end up seeing that actually they've tried everything from the same vantage point. They're coming from the same belief system. So if you have somebody who, is an entrepreneur, and they're on their fourth business, and they never take a salary, something that you're an expert at in this discussion, right? They never take a salary because their belief is, I have to put every single bit into this because money makes money. And if I don't do that, nothing's going to happen. And then they end up completely unable to sustain their life. They have to shut the business down. And that happens often, right? So that's a belief system. If they went in believing, say, what you teach, and they see that there's an entire budget that needs to be put into place, being that responsible to yourself will actually help you to route your discipline and your behavior and newer beliefs differently. And that'll help you to actually build your business, because now everybody's okay. Not just, so it's if you go into something and it's wrong and it fails or it's falling apart, you have to step back and ask yourself, what is it that you would never do that might make complete sense? I work often with something that I call 180, and I use this in my work. It's in an upcoming book, and this is a brain function issue. You have to take a step back and ask yourself, what is the complete opposite or somewhere thereabout that would be healthy? What's pretty much the opposite of what I would do? And it's uncomfortable because it's not what you would, if you would have done it, you would have done it already successfully. So, you have to go to a place that you've never been to change the outcome.
And that's what changes. If you do everything all the same all the time, nothing changes. So you've got to take that risk, or you've got to jump in and say, I'm going to try it. And when I fail, great, I'm going to learn. And just what you're saying, I mean, that's powerful.
Right. I mean, you go in and you say, I'm doing this because I really believe that this can work. I mean, people generally don't walk into things and say, I'm doing this because this is going to fail. Usually if you're doing something to fail, it's part of a greater strategy. So if you're going into some kind of venture or some kind of activity, and you do it because this should work this time, and then it's not working again, it's not that you didn't try, and it's not that the person didn't necessarily give it what they perceive as their all, but it's that they're actually coming from considerably the same place that they were in previously. So that's the difference. And that's why that 180 is a very different thing.
Mm.
You know,
I look forward to your book about that.
Me too.
Is it like people are afraid of success? Is that what happens, or there's what's underlying that makes you afraid of success?
It's not necessarily fear. It's actually discomfort, and then that discomfort can become fear. But most people don't walk around going, oh, "I'm so afraid." They're like, I'm trying. I mean, when you talk to people, it's amazing. I could talk to anybody. I could talk to groups of people, an individual, somebody at the head of a massive corporation, and somebody who's tried their hand at, cottage industries several times. They all say the same thing. It's just not working. If you hear that, that's discomfort. And it's because your mind is having trouble working through whatever the circumstance is, because maybe it doesn't understand it. Maybe there's not enough there. It doesn't understand the variables. I mean, it can be all kinds of things, but this is really, it's discomfort. Then that discomfort can start to feed into fear, because what your mind does is it always goes to what it knows. That's how we have our reasoning. That's how we develop our reasoning. So, and that's how we can feel safe, quite frankly, and comfortable. So if there's something that you don't feel comfortable, your mind could go back to when you were 5 and your parents put you on a bicycle and you were afraid because you could fall down because you saw somebody else fall down. So it's your head kind of just pulling you to other places. So the next thing you know, it's as an adult, you're feeling fear. You're not necessarily overtly thinking about the bicycle, but your head pulls you back to other incidents where you were so uncomfortable that you became afraid. And that would make you afraid of success. It's not like there's a big placard in front of you with the word success. Like, oh my God, that's not what happens. That's not what happens. It's more like there's this level of discomfort and you can't reconcile it. And being uncomfortable, you've been there before. The question is, what do your head do with it? And you can change that. You can change that. Scientifically, you can change that. So, and part of the way to make that change is to go through that 180 or some other processes where you, instead of feeling afraid, because now that's the emotional register of, I'm trying, but obviously I'm afraid of fear. Well, then let's go, I'm trying, and I'm not afraid.
Yeah.
When you say it, it's a whole different thing. Can I ask you to try it out?
Right.
So I want you to take a second and think about a time where you were really uncomfortable with something and maybe even afraid. That's up to you, right? And then don't tell me the incident. You don't need to, but tell me that you were uncomfortable.
Yeah. I am, when things have come along in life, and they have, where I have really, when I got laid off from the town of Westport. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
That's uncomfortable. And what am I going to do next? And
right. So now looking forward in your pursuits in life, perhaps there are things that you'd like to do, but you're not sure that you want to do them because there's this emotional register of discomfort, right? Mm-hmm. So think about going to work for another municipality, maybe even in the same position.
Yeah.
And you're going to apply. Okay. Think about that. It probably doesn't feel so great, right? It's my guess.
Yeah.
Now, what I want you to say out loud is I want you to force this. It's very deliberate. Okay. And I want you to say, I could apply for that job if it were available. And I would feel good about that. Just say that, literally say that to me.
Yeah, I could apply for that job if it were available, and I would feel good about it because I did a good job. Yeah.
And how do you feel right now?
Better. So
that's the point.
That's the point. Yeah.
You see that? Our brain is moving so fast And we have a certain amount of control. And it's not the power of positive profession. That's not what this is. This is literally understanding how to shift that around. So if you're in business and things are not going well, like I think about people in the restaurant business right now, it's to think about it, I feel devastated. I truly do for them. I mean, this is everybody's livelihoods all the way through the restaurant, right? And what it does for the economy and all of these things. These restaurateurs are not pandemic experts, but boy, they're becoming experts inside of the framework of what they need to do to keep that thing going. The question in my like space is, can they make it through? How innovative can they be? Can they make it through? And once they do that, what will the social response be to that restaurant that was able to be there for their community throughout that process? Making sure that people not just were fed, but had a break from having to constantly create their own food in the house. You know, that's extracurricular, if you will. So there's a lot to that. If a restaurant tour is thinking, well, I could barely make it through, I'm not making it through, I bought these blue lights and I bought this and the tent and it's a lot, and it's all true, and I don't think it's to be dismissed. But in there somewhere, if you could work with that person and say, let's change the strategy. This isn't just about making it through. This is about your impact later and knocking it out of the park, because you were the one in the community that made sure that you kept part of that community glued together. That'll change the way the person approaches part of what they do.
Yes, it will, and that's good advice. I'm involved in the theater community, and they have had to innovate, and innovate is the right word here. It's amazing what Curtain Call Theater in Stamford and what the Greater Bridgeport Youth Orchestra, Greater Connecticut Youth Orchestra has done. The Fairfield County Chorale has put together a Christmas concert, and they've pre-recorded it, and it's going to be out. I'll put a link in the thing, but they are surviving and keeping the arts alive in Connecticut in this area. Fairfield Center Stage has a COVID Christmas Carol coming up this weekend, and it's a redoing of the Christmas Carol story, and you can watch it. I'll put that in the link too. But those are the people who, as you say, are going to be here after all this madness is over, and are going to be stronger for it. But it's really tough right now to keep going.
It's tough. And I'm listening to what you're saying. It reminds me of somebody who's drowning, and then there's the person who goes out to rescue them. So everybody right now, or many people, are so afraid, truly afraid, or they feel like they need to be extremely cautious, and everybody should be practicing, from my viewpoint, safe interactions, and keeping their environment as healthy as possible. And but if somebody's out there drowning and freaking out, right, and the other person goes out and they're there to help them, and they start freaking out, both people will probably drown.
Yeah.
Right. So somebody has to be okay. So the theater was freaking out for a while, and then everybody realized this is not going away so fast. So, okay, what do we do to make sure that everybody's better? And that the fact that they're coming across with these performances online or however they're doing this it's glorious, because it gives everybody a chance to feel good. And when you feel good, you start doing things that feel good, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
and the opposite, true.
Well, yeah, couch potatoes become couch potatoes, and it's harder to get off the couch the longer you stay there. So it's really the truth. So the fact that the theater industry, or the entertainment industry at large, has been working so hard to innovate, and make sure that they stay connected, the ripple effect from that is fabulous. It really is, and I think we're very fortunate that so many people are determined to make it work. It's nice.
We are, especially around here. There are lots of arts opportunities available, and business opportunities that are available too.
Yeah,
We're
no.
and we're not alone, but we're in this together. But where if I really am drowning, where can I go for help nowadays?
Well, there's a variety of things you could do. First of all, you have to ask yourself like what you're drowning with, which is important. So you have a lot of eating disorders, for instance, that have cropped up. All right, people who never thought that they would have a problem like this, they're not eating, they're eating badly. It's making people sick. I think that the medical field is going to see a lot of people who are not feeling well just because they've not been good to their bodies at the tail end of this. I'm sure it's already happening.
Yeah.
So one of the answers to that is if you're not feeling well physically, physiologically, if you're not feeling well, go to the doctor and have them just check you out to make sure that everything is okay. The first thing we always say is mental health help. Well, your brain is stuck in your body, so let's talk about the whole person.
Yeah.
Go to the doctor if you need to go to the doctor, and don't blow it off. And that's really an important thing too. We have a tendency to blow that off. And then of course there's help for your mind. Okay. And some people are afraid or they are turned off when they hear mental health awareness, and mental health is like the rest of your health. Again, it's addressing the brain in your head that is running the entire show. So if you're really struggling or you are, a lot of depression right now, a lot of anxiety, frustration, the stresses are huge. People still don't know how to, just really make life the way they want it to be. And the holidays certainly make that pronounced. Mental health help is just like going to the doctor. It's the same thing. You're going to somebody else who's not living inside of your head, who can see things with clarity. They have the skill to do this, practiced skill, and hopefully they can help you navigate those waters. And hopefully it'll be on the short term. Mental health assistance doesn't mean, or counseling doesn't mean for the rest of your life. And it doesn't mean you're broken. It means that it just means that you've reached out and somebody's able to grab you by the hand and help you across the bridge, really.
Yeah.
So that's another good thing. The other thing that I really suggest is for businesses in particular is I would love to call them support groups, but it sounds so bad. Networking opportunities are very important. So there are a couple of really terrific ones out there. They're built for different reasons, but there is which is where you and I met, BNI, business,
Yeah.
right? So Business Network International, which is good. But there's another one called Virtual 5 o'clock. And they got together, if you listen to what it is, it's 5 o'clock, which means the office is closing or closed. And it gives people a place to go to be with others, because there's no more conference room. There's no more meet at the bar after work. There's no more let's go grab a sandwich at the deli down the street. It's gone. So they've created a circumstance where that's now available. And it's really a wonderful place to be. And they meet online. BNI, they're all over the world. So if you're a member there, it gives you an opportunity to network with other groups within that structure. So getting out there and networking is not a bad idea ever. But during a period where you're feeling uncomfortable and you want to build yourself as a professional or learn more about how to run a good business, go into a room where that's what people are doing. I always say, if you want to have more faith, then hang out with people who have more faith than you. Mm-hmm. Put yourself into a place where there are people they're thriving or they're looking to thrive also. And the interchange is spectacular. It's good. It's really
awesome. Good. We're talking about things that people can do to make them to help themselves too. What other things can we think about that can help ourselves?
I think getting back to what we think we lost. We have a tendency to think, oh my God, I can't see my family. Oh my gosh, I can't, my business has changed. Oh my gosh. Well, what is your business built on to begin with? It's time to kind of get inside, take a look at the infrastructure of your business. Is it set up? to adapt when adapting is required. If it's still not, you need to address that. And you think you don't have family available, well, then call them on the phone or do your Zoomy thing, FaceTime, Duo. There's a ton of platforms. You have, if there are people that you feel like they're just kind of disappearing out of your life, reach out. Don't wait for everybody to call you. If everybody's waiting for everybody to call, nobody calls. So somebody's got to initiate that, and those are the things to do. The other thing that I think is great at this period of time is doing things that you've waited to do for like 20 years, that project. And when you do it, it feels great. So I've talked to a lot of people, and I've done this myself, who decided to go through all of those photo albums. Just researching, just the research to figure out the best way to do that for somebody like myself was so healthy. It took my head to a different place than I usually spend my time in. And so if you're doing things that are different, but meeting a goal that you've had sitting around for a long time, it's great. It's great for you. And I think the same thing applies to business, by the way. It's not just personal. Get into your office, and maybe there's something that you've done the same over and over. Maybe there's a better way to do it. So maybe spend some time researching, get to know things on a different level, and apply it. It's terrific.
Yeah. It's a good time to sit back or to step back and design the business instead of just having to work at it all the time. That's old advice, but it's good advice too.
No, it's great advice.
Yeah.
Right, because if you're in there and you're constantly doing and you're becoming frantic even, or you're busy being busy because you need to be busy, you end up in the same place that you basically started in, but then you're frustrated, which doesn't make it any better. So it's, little chunks. I say lately, like, just take care of your little chunk. So if there's something on your desk that needs to happen and you don't do it because it makes you feel uncomfortable, go do it. It'll make you feel really comfortable. When you're inside of it, all of a sudden you'll find your space, you'll find your routine, and slammo, it'll be done. You'll feel great.
Yeah. Business owners that I've talked to struggle with that. They're pulled from every direction all the time and making decisions and just, or they burn out because they haven't thought through what needs to happen to make the business better and what they can do to design the business.
Well, we go into our businesses excited, that we have this new thing we're doing, or, we've been hired by this new company and it's great. But it takes fine tuning to make your business work. It does. You start out, you know the process, or you have a plan, but then that plan, it opens up other instances or other opportunities that really require your attention. And sometimes while we're moving fast, we forget to stop and do that. So, this may be a good opportunity to fine tune what you've got, because there has not been one pandemic that lasted at this frequency forever. This will end. And my question always is, where will you be when this ends? Like, where are you going to place yourself? There are things, Jim, there are things you can't control. And I don't think this is not a pie in the sky discussion. It's very reality based. There's things you can't control, but there are things that you can. So with the things you can control, where will you be when this thing is gone and the dust settles and it's clear? Where will you be? Where did you put yourself?
Mm-hmm. We're talking business coaching things. What are some things that you should look for in a business coach? I mean, you're a business coach far above where I am, but what are some of the good things that what are some of the things that I should look at when I'm looking for a business coach?
I think, first of all, you need somebody who's going to listen. And that's really important. A lot of the time, the complaints that I hear are that it seems like they're listening, but the truth is they've already formulated stuff and they're going to paste it on somebody's life because they have a process. My tendency is to say, look for somebody who can truly listen to you, really listen, and then work off of what they're hearing, and then apply what they know to help you improve whatever it is that you're looking to improve. It's your business. It's your professional life. It's not theirs. So you are looking for an expert facilitator. That's really what you're looking for. The other thing is when you're looking for a business coach, it's such a wide open platform. You want to find out what that coach is great at. What do they do? Is that somebody who works best within, let's say, mergers and acquisitions, or is it somebody who does well in the area of government and they understand governmental policy? Is it somebody who is an expert in leadership? Like find out what that person is. Just because it says business coach doesn't mean that they're right for you. You want to create a match.
Yeah. People don't know what business coach means. I was in a webinar the other day with just that thing. You have to say, okay, well, I do profit first, or I do leadership, and then I do leadership for real estate people. I do profit first for real estate people. Then people start to understand really what you do, and that helps them find you, and it helps you find them.
Well, we do our best. We think categorically. That's how we work. So if you say, you need a business coach, and you look that up on like, the internet, you're going to be online for most of your life because there are now 12 billion.
Yes.
Okay, you're saying life coach, like everything, but you won't know where to go. So to your point, if somebody says, I'm in real estate and I need somebody to help me build my business, that they should be looking for somebody who that's part of what they do. And it doesn't mean that the business coach should only do that. Like I can speak to a myriad, a great variety of different businesses and industries, but that's because I've been in these things for so long that I can do that.
Yeah.
And also, I work with executives, right? So that's a whole space in and of itself, and that type of leadership. But at least you know where I am. At least I know where you are, and if I were, again, in real estate, I would go, I'd go to Jim because he does this and I need to run my business better. And he understands the business.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. You bring it in.
And have something to offer.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. If you have nothing to offer, you should pack a suitcase. And the first time you're allowed to fly, you need to go.
Yes. I love it.
Bye-bye. It's incredible.
So this time of year, we think of lots of things, and light and redemption and all of that. We think about life. How's life with you? What's the meaning of life? What's going on with you?
Here we go. This is the big question, right? Of everybody's life. Like, what's the meaning of life? I think that's very individualized. I do, because I don't think that there's one answer for that. That would make us characteristically one large mass of I can't imagine what, and we're not. We're a mass of people created, by individuals, and individual characteristics. But you talk about like this time of year, and this is the holiday season, the winter holiday season, and we have all of these really great holidays, and they're all based on miracles, and they're all based on having hope, or the reinforcement of things that give people hope. And we just ended Hanukkah, and last night was the last night of Hanukkah, and it's this concept that you can have something small, and that there can be some intercession, and you can have light for a lot longer, and things can go well, and people can win, and they can do okay, and they can walk away feeling satisfied. Christmas, it's a birthday party, and it's a big deal, and it's important because, that recognizes that somebody arrived to make this okay. And if you look at every religion or every thought practice, that is celebratory, especially at this time of year, that's what it is, and it's not a bad thing to latch on to. You could be, you don't have to have a religious belief system, but to think that life is a little bit bigger than you, and that you're a part of something that's really pretty terrific, and you can make it through the bad stuff because there are other people who they're there to support you. And if you don't know where they are, you can go find them. That's pretty great.
It
you know.
is.
So the meaning of life, Jim, I think that we just need to make this our best ride. We get this. This is whatever people do secondary. We have this right here today. And I think the meaning is in every single day and what you decide to do with it.
I like that. Yep.
Just one kid's perspective. This is really enjoyable. I want to thank you for this. This is really nice.
Well, it is fun. I again thank you, Dr. Maida. This has been a great conversation for me, and I hope for our listeners. So
I hope so.
Yes. Well, God bless, and
thanks.
Happy holidays and light and music and living and theater and all of those good things together.
That sounds great. I'm now going to leave this, and I'm like, we have to turn on some music. This is terrific. So
all right. Thank you.
Again. Thanks. Take good care of yourself.
You too.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Yep. Bye.